Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. I know, I'm late, it's a continuous issue, but we have such a huge family and there are so many family events and things that just come up along the way that just keep me busy. Work in particular has been especially strenuous and exacting a harsh toll on me day after day, even with the extra help that's been thrown down my way. But I'm hardly here to complain about that. Today we are continuing on and finishing up the alignment guide, or at least finishing up in the sense that we've gone through all 9 alignments by the end of this video. I'll have another thoughts video afterwards about how these various alignments can kind of play and interact, and different things that players can do to, at least what I feel they could do to make the interactions better without sacrificing their character's alignment necessarily. But we'll get into that next time around when we're talking about alignments. For now, let's continue on with the last final alignment, the third one on the evil spectrum, and that is chaotic evil. Chaotic evil is a lot of fun, but it's another one of those alignments that I feel kind of can be a bit repetitive, oddly enough. It's so easy to make it such a one-note alignment. The reason for that being, well, if you've been paying attention, and I certainly hope you have been so far, chaotic evil has no regard for anything, just by the nature of its alignment. Its outlook on the law versus chaos spectrum is chaos all the way. And as far as the good versus evil thing, it's firmly an evil square. They do not give a goddamn what they're doing, who they're doing it to, or even why. They're not so concerned about the why, just the how and what. That's all that they're really concerned with. They need to kill someone. How? Well, that just depends on what they have on hand at the moment. And when? Whenever is the most opportune time for them to hit. Or it doesn't even necessarily have to be the opportune time. Doesn't matter. It's chaotic evil. But also bear in mind, like with any of the other 8 alignments here, chaotic evil has a very broad banner. And the thing is that most people go for the psycho, crazy, spur of the moment, whatever I feel like, whenever I feel like kind of thing. But that's, again, so very one note, especially for, an alignment that has no rules, no regard, no consideration for anything. And there's so much more that you can do than just this crazy psychotic killer. Certainly you can do that, but I do think it helps to make the character, methodical's not the right word, but they can have nuance and thought and reasoning behind their actions. For example, yes, it would make sense for a chaotic evil character to, mid-adventure or even after the adventure, or right at the start, murder the rest of the party and make off with whatever loot or gear they have managed to gather at this point. Absolutely, chaotic evil could do that. Yes, generally speaking, by definition of the alignment, but being chaotic evil, being a crazy person, especially an evil crazy person, does not mean you don't have thoughts or reason or any methodology behind your actions. Even a chaotic evil character may look around and go, you know what, it's handy having these meat shields around. They take damage, I get to deal damage, and you know what? When I wander into town, most people don't look at me sideways because I'm wandering with a group of adventurers. Makes it a lot easier for me to spread my chaos and evil everywhere. Just have to be a little bit subtle about it. Now, some people might say that's more neutral evil and more self-serving, and maybe it bridges on it, but again, it just comes back down to what the character's motivations are, how the player is playing things out. And that's what part of what makes chaotic evil so tricky, and so easily misplayed under even the broad broad definitions and very vague definitions of what the various alignments are. It's so easy to start slipping a little bit too much into what might be considered other alignments. But if the character is not consistently leaning towards neutral evil or chaotic good or whatever, as long as they're not consistently doing more of one thing over any of the others, that can still fall underneath chaotic evil. Even an evil person can recognize the need to do good once in a while, or even work with people of a good alignment. Just because they're chaotic evil and looking for the annihilation of a particular group does not mean they're going to sit back and watch another evil come about, or even a force of neutrality or whatever come about and start wiping everything out themselves, because, well, they may recognize, hey, this group's not going to be friendly with me. I better team up with those dicks over there and actually go wipe out those guys, so that way I can stay alive and wipe out those jerks myself later. So there can be a rationale, there can be a survivalist mindset behind it. They don't just have to be chaotic, no thought, dive right into everything feet first with fireballs flying everywhere or constant daggers in everybody's backs. That, again, gets one note and very repetitive, and honestly, if your DM is any kind of a decent DM, they're giving you a world in which consequences are abound for all your actions. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is true not only in physics, but it's also true just in general life as well. Well, I should say that not all actions are necessarily equal and opposite. Sometimes people go overboard in their responses, but that just depends on the people, and we're getting into a whole nother subject here. Point being, if somebody goes off and starts being a psycho killer in a town, the people are going to respond and start trying to track down the psycho killer. They're going, even if, it's a 5th level wizard that's hurling fireballs and lightning and death and destruction everywhere in as many ways as they possibly can. It's one person versus what I assume would be a decently sized town. Even if it's only a town the size of 300 people and only 100 people in the town are of any sort of capable-ish fighting age or fighting capabilities, that's still 100 people against one person. And they may get terrified, they may flee, but at a certain point, they're going to spread. They're going to spread that one level 5 wizard's name, his description everywhere, and the surrounding region is going to be made aware of this character, and there are going to be adventurers, mercenaries, law enforcement, whoever may have an interest in taking this person down will start showing up, and that can make a chaotic evil character very short-lived. In fact, that's typically what happens to a lot of NPCs and how a lot of adventures get kicked off. They are just obnoxious, evil jerks about everything, and it just catches everybody's attention, and that is where chaotic evil can get into a lot of trouble if there's no thought or methodology put into anything. No survival instinct, rather. Let's call it survival instinct rather than methodology. Too much meticulousness can start to lean this alignment towards neutral, possibly even lawful on the evil spectrum there. Generally, again, it just all depends a little bit, but this is why this video is here. All kinds of tips, tricks, and ideas. Now, as far as examples go for chaotic evil characters, well, it's hard to come up with a lot that would fall under that spectrum. Mostly what I can think of are anything that would fall underneath an anarchist mindset, specifically ones that are just looking to inflict harm and do evil. Those ones would fall pretty neatly underneath chaotic evil. Anybody who's just there like a short, bright flame. Sure, it's going to burn everything, but they're burning everything and will consume their own fuel and gutter out after a while. Demons absolutely embody this mindset, and the only thing that really keeps them going is essentially their numbers are infinite as they spawn from the raw chaos stuff down in the festering infinite layers of the abyss. Those creatures, I love running demons, love running devils. they make such great enemies for each other and for the players. But as far as chaotic evil goes, the demons do it wonderfully. It's, as you read the flavor text and the descriptions for them, this can help DMs and even players gain an idea on how to play their characters. Demons are more base emotions, base reactions. You know, they're not subtle manipulators. They don't have the Erinyes or any of these other manipulator like devils that you'd find in lawful evil. They play off of baser lusts and desires. So they send succubi out to lure people in with their wild, ravenous passions, to bring those out in people. They'll send out the succubi, incubi. They'll play on those base desires and get people to debase themselves in the pursuits of those things, whether it's violent destruction, murder, wild carnal lusts, or even just the act of destruction, just pure and utter destruction for all things. That's what the demons of the if I could speak, that's what the demons of the abyss embody, and that's what they seek to bring out in mortals, and that's what a chaotic evil character will bring out. They will work from their base emotions and reactions, and there will not be a whole lot of consistency in that regard. This does leave them a little bit of room to do the occasional bit of good, but that is going to be rare. That's going to be that little flicker of mortality in them, that little moral voice that niggles at the back of their mind and goes, hey, that seems like that was a dick thing to have happen. They should help out a little bit. Now, just because they help out once doesn't mean they won't come back later and burn down the house of whoever it was they helped out. But in that moment, they may have a moment where they just see or feel a need to do good, and they may even do good by accident as well too. And if the players are playing it in that fashion, where they have this evil ass person who has just been murdering people left and right, and they show up in town, and the local thieves guild, some members of the local thieves guild picks a fight with them, they may kill those guild members and then hunt down a bunch of the rest of the people that bear the similar marks or similar dress, or, you know, torture the ever-loving crap out of them until they spill where their hideout is, and then go and burn down the hideout and kill as many of the thieves as possible. A lot of people will see that as an act of good. This person has helped the city. But the chaotic evil person will be like, what? I helped? Well, I mean, yay me, I helped. Give me the reward. Great. Now I'm going to go buy all of this fancy gear. And now I'm going to murder the mayor and flee town. But that's just something situational, may happen in the moment there. Point being, though, there is room for things to happen as we play these characters, as we play these chaotic evil alignments. The thing is that the motivation is really going to be important for chaotic evil. And again, it's really easy to start slipping into playing the character as chaotic stupid or even stupid evil. Because just because you're in the middle of an adventure, you see an opportunity to murder the other players and take the gear, doesn't mean the character would necessarily do that. Just because they're in the middle of an adventure, they're in the middle of a dungeon or some kind of mission where they're surrounded by enemies and danger. Even a psychotic, chaotic, evil person has the ability to recognize that, if I have these meat shields around, better chances that I will survive, and if they happen to die along the way, well, that just makes my job at the end of the adventure much easier when it does come time to murder them. That's when the player should be murdering the party, is after the adventure, when everybody needs to rest and recuperate. Maybe they can even, as they're playing, hold back on helping out as much as they could be. It doesn't mean they won't help a little bit here and there, do some smart things to help nudge the fight in the party's favor, but it would be entirely acceptable for chaotic evil to not help as much as they could, just so that down the line they could murder the crap out of the rest of the party. But those are just some tips, tricks, thoughts, and ideas on how to play chaotic evil to make it feel a little bit different and to keep from playing as chaotic stupid or evil stupid, as many people end up doing with the chaotic neutral or chaotic evil alignment. And I myself am guilty of this. I have done this before as a younger player. And again, that's how I know it can get a little bit one note. It's just, it was the same thing over and over. Yes, the situations may have been different characters, may have been different party dynamics, but the characters ended up very samey and in their behaviors, just because I took chaotic evil as license to just go hog wild and do all these crazy, outlandish, stupid, and evil things. And it was entertaining at the time. Maybe even the first 3 or 4 times. But by the 5th and the 6th, even I gave up on playing chaotic evil just because there was no more appeal in it. And that's unfortunate, because it can be a very interesting alignment to play if you do it right and you try to vary it up. But we can get more into how to vary it just a little bit more next time around when I start talking about how these alignments kind of interact with each other. That next video may be just a little bit longer, but we'll get into that another time. For now, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, why not consider liking, maybe even leaving a comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and feedback, or situations you've had playing a chaotic evil character or playing with someone who had a chaotic evil character. I'd love to know how you handled it, they handled it. Just please jump down in there and start the discussion. Be more than happy to have you. And hell, if you want to be a regular member here, why not consider just subscribing down at the channel below there and click the bell icon there, so that way, in spite of YouTube and all their weird little things failing to notify you properly, if you click the bell, you're more likely to be notified the next time I upload content here to the channel. And hell, even if you didn't like what I posted here, click dislike and let me know why. I love getting feedback, good, bad, negative, indifferent, whatever. Just throw it on down there. But once again, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. You folks have yourselves a good night.